This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Luke Sylvia and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic. What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is June 5th, 2023. Jonathan Osborne here. As always, you know I am joined by the co-host, Luke Sylvia. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm a little tired. I was in Tampa this weekend. My buddy's getting married here in a couple weeks. We Friday night did a little casino action as well as Saturday night, and that went terribly. And then we did Busch Gardens on Saturday, which was fun. I wore my Markelle Fultz. This was rude, and we'll discuss this now. I sent a picture of myself wearing this Markelle Fultz jersey in our group chat, and all Jonathan could say was, "You are white," in all caps, white, emphasis on the white, which, you know, it's no secret. I'm not a tanned fellow, but that's how I started my day on Saturday. And then
you just needed
went
some
to Busch
sun.
Gardens.
You needed some vitamin D. That's all.
I will tell you, I got some sun. So no worries there. I got some sun for sure. Took off the jersey later, and I was like, wow, okay. So I even put on sunscreen, but I didn't reapply. Probably my issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we did a lot of roller coasters. Had a good time. They took out, my main qualm is they took out the 3-point shooting contest that used to be there. I don't know if you've done it or been and seen it.
Yep.
So I think it was COVID that took
Wasted
it out.
many a dollar there.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so that was my only disappointment that day, really. A couple rides closed down, but did the main ones.
Did you do Sheikra?
Yes.
Oh, gross.
Sheikra, Cheetah, what's it called? Montu or something like that.
Montu is my favorite.
Montu's kind of wild. I liked it. It's a good time.
I don't like heights, but I do roller coasters. Something about Sheikra where you're just sitting there for. I did it once in high school. Awesome. It was like Halloween Horror Nights, or they call it Hallow Scream there. Excuse me. So it's at night, so you really can't see everything. Like during the day, there's no way you would get me on that to be able to just like look out amongst everything.
Front row, baby, on that one.
Good for you, bro.
Put me over the edge. It was electric.
You might be very white, but you're not yellow. You have a lot of courage. You're a brave fella.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna start the show. We have some sad news. It has been announced via his Twitter that Orlando Sentinel, Orlando Magic beat writer and friend of the podcast, our friend Khobi Price, he will be concluding his watch on June 22nd, the day of the draft. He's leaving the Orlando Sentinel. He's leaving Orlando. And the boy is moving out to Hollywood to cover the mother freaking Lakers. So we're incredibly sad. For those of you who have had the privilege to have any type of interaction with Khobi, whether it be on Twitter or especially in person, super nice guy. Like, could not be a nicer guy. And anytime that we've wanted him on the show, or we've just had questions and looking for advice in this covering the Magic, he, like, where some people would like hold their trade secrets like very near and dear to their heart, Khobi has been like so generous and like forthcoming with everything. Just really gonna miss the dude, and he is one heck of a writer, and no one has done a better job of covering the Orlando Magic than Khobi Price has. And it sucks for the Magic.
Yeah. Obviously the worst part is the void that is going to be left. Obviously we think, Orlando Sentinel will hire somebody. Will they be as good as Khobi Price? I hope so.
Not likely.
I hope so, but I just don't know. Khobi was really great about getting answers, asking the questions that need to be asked. Really had a pulse on the Magic community, in my opinion. Just being very in tune on social media, seeing what people are saying, whether good takes, stupid takes. We've seen them all. Khobi saw them all.
We've tweeted
but
them.
he
We've
really
tweeted
asked
the
the
good takes
questions.
and the bad takes.
That's true. That's true too. So just a all around great job by Kobe. It stinks that it was a year and a half. Couldn't be longer, but it just means that Kobe, bigger fish to fry out there in LA, and I'm happy for him. But it does, like I said, it leaves a void.
The Dr. Seuss saying, "Don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that it happened." I'm happy that it happened. I'm happy that Kobe had his time here. And to your point, like asking good questions and asking questions that like fans wanted to know the answers to. Like I don't think that is as prevalent as it should be. Like at the end of the day, the fans are the ones that are driving this bus. You ever see that? I don't know if it was like the Vine days, but it's like the kid that's doing like the ratchet white girl. He's like, "Who's driving this bus?
Who's driving this?
Who's driving this bus? Like, don't forget who's driving this bus, folks. It's the fans." And Kobe did just a great job, like you said, interacting with fans and asking questions that fans wanted to know. So shout out to our boy Kobe. We know he's going to kill it in LA. Are you shocked that like LA was like, "Hey, we're taking this guy from Orlando"? Not okay. I'm not even doing the Shaq Dwight thing. I'm just saying, like,
should we?
Like, I'm not shocked at all that a market like LA wanted a guy like Kobe. Like,
no, of course,
it was only a matter of time, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely. And aside from the jokes of the inevitability of a stud from Orlando going to LA, it happens, unfortunately. But what I will say, Kobe deserves it, has earned it, and I'm as far as like paywalls go, the Athletic bothers me a little bit, right? But as far as how they do it and just paywalls in general, but Kobe created such great content that it absolutely justified the very small amount to pay and be a subscriber because of the interviews, like the one-on-ones that he would do, just reporting on players and health and injury and any type of thing that he heard. He put it out there, and you had the ability to go and get it. So it says a lot that your quality can match, the fact that you have to pay to see the stuff. And Kobe did a really great job, and that's a hard job to do.
More than worth the price of admission. Legitimately, I would have paid double what I was paying for the coverage that Kobe Price provided. I will now be canceling my Orlando Sentinel subscription until when the Athletic just let us out to dry. I would think that the Orlando Sentinel is going to replace, and fill that position relatively quickly. They probably want to find the right guy. It may take some time for that to happen, but whoever, guy or girl, I should say, and whoever it is going to have to earn my subscription back. I'm not just like, oh, here we go. Like, come in, put in the work. We know that the community is going to accept anybody with open arms. We'll be happy about the coverage. Obviously, we'll try to have whoever it is on the show. But yeah, it sucks for Orlando Magic fans. That's about the best way that I can put it.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Wanted to remind you all really quickly about the Orlando Magic throwing their draft party coming up on the 22nd of June. It's a Thursday night. It's the night of the NBA draft. If you're in the area, if you're in Central Florida, drive on over to Orlando. You can go to orlandomagic.com to reserve your tickets. They are free. You don't have to pay anything, but you do have to reserve your tickets so the Magic can kind of get a head count as to how many people are going to be there. We'll be there hanging out, and we hope to see you all. So, again, that's going to be on the 22nd at Amway Center in downtown Orlando. Looking forward to seeing you guys there. During the first finals game on last Thursday night, Luke, this movie, which I don't know how I feel about the premise of this movie, Gran Turismo. Gran Turismo is one of my all-time favorite video game franchises, but our boy Paolo Banchero featured in this commercial with Zach LaVine and Boban, and I feel like I'm missing someone else that was in this commercial. I know David Harbour, I believe, is the actor from Stranger Things. He was in the commercial as well. But Paolo rocking that awesome Orlando Magic race jacket that I need to have. I need to have some version of that, I think, at some point in my life. It's weird to me that it doesn't already exist because I don't know if you remember this, but years ago, like race jackets, like NASCAR jackets, were like an actual hot thing. And I'm just surprised that like an Orlando Magic version of that was never made.
Well, it's got to be now. That's the news there. It's got to happen. Give us the jacket.
We don't always get what we want. I don't know if you're aware of that.
It's an unfortunate truth, but I've never cared about those jackets. And all of a sudden, Paolo Banchero dons the Orlando Magic logo. And I'm like, well, here's my wallet. Give it to me.
So the race jacket did it for you, but the Jinko jeans did not.
It's a good assumption.
Yeah.
Jeans didn't. Actually, put Paolo in that Magic jacket and put him on the cover. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would have liked to see that as well. But no, it was cool to see him in the commercial. A little bit of national recognition. In the very beginning of the commercial, Zach LaVine's like, "Oh, I'm a whatever like rook," and he's like, "That's rookie of the year." Like, throw some respect on my name, Zach LaVine. Potential future Orlando Magic. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? Who knows what's going to happen in Chicago? But no, that was a pretty cool commercial. As we're recording this, the first quarter of Game 2 of the NBA Finals just ended. Miami, who had a decent lead in the first quarter, only up 3 at the end of the first. So we're hoping that those Denver Nuggets go up 2-0, beat the dirty, stinking, freaking Heat. And yeah, I mean, were you surprised at all by Game 1 and the way that kind of unfolded?
No. And if our listeners tuned in, they heard our predictions. I have the Nuggets in 4, sticking to it. I feel good about it. After Game 1, I was like, I don't know. Not enough heart in the world could compensate for the talent that the Denver Nuggets have from their whole roster. They're so deep. They're so good. And they're led by one of the best players in the NBA. Maybe the best. I don't know. He's nuts.
There's been this conversation like ever since LeBron started to slip a little bit about who is like the best player in the league now, and we've gone through iterations of like, oh, maybe it's Steph, maybe it's Kawhi, maybe it's Giannis, maybe it's Embiid, maybe it's Jokic. We've gone through like a number of guys here. Obviously, a few of those guys, like we know it's not Kawhi, dude just doesn't play enough. Embiid hasn't had enough playoff success to really get that mantle. Steph is always an interesting conversation to me because it's always tough when, even though he is one of the very best offensive players we've ever seen in this league, the fact that the dude is almost always covering the other team's worst perimeter defender or perimeter player, or sometimes just the other team's worst player in general, it's hard for me to be like, hey, you know what, that guy is the best player in the league. 15, 16, maybe those are outliers because he was just so incredibly unbelievable. But Jokic, man, like for me, it's between Jokic and Giannis right now. And to be able to give a guy the ball in the last 5 minutes of an important playoff game, to me, that's a big deal. And Giannis proved in the first round this year against the Heat that kind of can't do that when they're looking to foul him and put him on the free throw line. He doesn't have the confidence or the ability really to knock down those shots consistently. So like Jokic is that guy for me right now. And I know that's kind of prisoner of the moment. It's an easy thing to say. He's playing in the NBA Finals and everybody is all Jokic, but like the dude is unbelievable.
Yeah, does everything. I read something. I'm trying to remember what it was, but someone at one point talks about Jokic and is kind of describing him and everything. And they get down to the end and they say something to the effect of like, he's the model NBA player for efficiency and one of the most creative players of all time. And he really is. And he's creative because his ability allows him to be. You can be creative, but if you don't have the ability to make things happen, if you don't have the ability to sling something from the freaking opposite block out to the corner, out of the post, then you can't do it, right? Everyone has the idea. They see the guy in the corner, but they can't all make the plays. Jokic has the creativity and the execution to match. He's insane. That's why his team is the NBA Finals right now.
What has been your opinion of Jamal Murray like the last 4 or 5 years, and has that changed at all this year?
I think as far as Jamal Murray goes, we got put on notice in the bubble, right? Bubble comes around, Jamal Murray. That's when I was like, whoa, this guy, if Nikola Jokic wasn't around, what would Jamal Murray be? What is his ceiling? What could he do? I don't know that I still have the answer, but I feel pretty good about Jamal Murray in general. I would say I was already pretty locked into Jamal Murray, just how incredible he is and can be because of that the bubble performances. But he's just continued to show that he's that guy. He's unreal.
A few years ago, this is predating the bubble, when the Nuggets decided to give Jamal Murray the max, I was like, what the hell? You're giving Jamal Murray the max? And I think I've tweeted this out since, but I've apologized to Jamal Murray long ago, probably around the time of the bubble. And I was kind of on the Jamal Murray, this dude is fantastic. This dude is legitimately one of the best guards in our league. And then towards the end of what was that, the 2021 season, where he tears the ACL, and then he missed, I believe, all of last season, if I'm not mistaken. And just the way that he's performed in these playoffs, how many times do we see a guy who is, because I think Jamal Murray is at the point now where he's overrated, a guy that is how close would you say he is to a DeMar DeRozan? In a casual conversation, I feel like people would rate them fairly similarly. I think Jamal Murray is head and shoulders better than DeMar DeRozan.
You said Jamal was overrated. Do you think he's underrated though, right?
I meant underrated. Yes.
Okay.
I'm an idiot.
I just wanted to clarify. For
thank you very much.
I knew what you meant, but I needed to put it on
the
the
record.
record.
What I was putting down, but yes, I have a habit of misspeaking because I'm stupid. Yes, Jamal Murray is underrated in my opinion. And just the way that he's performed during these playoffs, and guys that have his skill set in his bag, we see them take bad shot after bad shot after bad shot. Jamal Murray, in my opinion, I watch him play basketball. I'm like, this dude's IQ is so high, and I never feel like, Jamal, that was a bad shot.
Yeah. I think you pose a question. How do you stack up Jamal and DeMar DeRozan? I think in the regular season and what the numbers show, and I'll share in a second, the numbers show as far as the scoring abilities that DeMar DeRozan is a better regular season player. But Jamal Murray, when the playoffs come, and it's no secret to anybody, but your stars need to elevate their games, DeMar DeRozan doesn't do what Jamal Murray's done when it comes to the postseason. Jamal Murray, when it counts, right, he scored 20 points per game this season. 2 seasons ago when he did play, because you were right, he missed last season due to the ACL, he scored 21 points a game. That's 21 points, the most he scored in the regular season. Playoffs, though, this past year, 27.6 points per game. 2019-2020 postseason and 19 games, 26.5 points per game. So a consistent bump from Jamal Murray when it comes to just the productivity. And even more impressive is his efficiency. 8 threes a game right now, and he's shooting 39% from three. And that's in the postseason. He's shooting better from the field, more efficient from the field as well than he shot in the regular season. He's shooting about the same from three percentage-wise, but even more threes. Just everything you want in a number 2 for sure. Could he be a number 1? I don't know. And who knows what the regular season numbers look like at that point, because you have to get those in order to get your team, into the playoffs, whatever, seeding, impact winning. He does benefit from Jokic, but come postseason, Jamal Murray holds its own.
Yeah, one of the better playoff risers of this generation, I think. Could he be a number 1? Sure. On a playoff team, yeah. On a contender, no. And that's why he has Jokic. I cannot think of a better number 2 to Jokic than Jamal Murray. You have any idea what I would do to have Jamal Murray on the Magic as our starting 2 guard? Jamal Murray is exactly the type of player that the Magic need to insert into that starting lineup. If we could put Jamal Murray into our 2 guard with Markelle, Franz, Paolo, Wendell Carter Jr., you would have me talking reckless. I wouldn't be ready to say they're winning the title next year, but I'm not ready to say that they couldn't either. Like that would have me talking absolutely reckless. I would love Jamal Murray on the Magic, but that'll never happen. So, and it probably serves me right for laughing when he got the max. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, great player.
All right, Monty Williams. I just want your take on this really quickly. Got paid about $1 gazillion now to be the Detroit Pistons head coach. I think it was a 6-year deal, if I'm not mistaken, like $132 million. I think it was like 6 years, $132 million. Now I believe that makes him the highest paid head coach in the NBA. And it's just crazy that he's getting paid that much to just lose to the Magic in the playoffs year after year after year.
Yeah, listen, the Pistons are looking to go, over 500 for the first time since 2015. They saw the guy they wanted, and they handed him what he wanted. Probably they might have offered it to him, and he was like, "Whoa!" But yeah, I'll do it. Absolutely. I wasn't going to, but since you offered me that amount of money, I'm going to. Absolutely. And I think that's what it boils down to, right? Like the Detroit Pistons clearly have the awareness to be like, if this is just kind of he has the pick of the litter, he isn't picking us. But if we give him enough money, he has no choice. And they gave him more than enough money, in my opinion, to snag him. I mean, they're trying to. They're desperate.
Have you seen? There's a few different iterations of this TikTok. Usually, it's done of guys who they are alluding to being like families of immigrants when they're pretending to be at a girl's house and they're like, "Hey, like this isn't going to work out between us. Like I don't think we should see each other anymore." Blah blah blah. And then he's like, "Oh, like you made kimchi? Like you made this yourself?" And he's like, "Hold on a second." He starts eating. He's like, "Wait, you made this?" And he's like, "What are these, like dumplings?" And he's eating. He's like, "You made these?" He's like, "No, what I was saying was we need to move in and get married. Like I think I'm ready to like settle down." And that was Monty Williams. Like the Pistons called him. He's like, "Listen, I'm taking the year off. I'm not really interested." Wait, how much? No, what I meant was like I'm on my way to Detroit like right now. Like that kind of money, nobody's going to turn that down. And although I am kind of like tongue in cheek joking about the Magic and the Pistons, which will be meeting in the playoffs on a semi-regular basis for years to come, I truly believe that in the Eastern Conference, the Monty Williams hire makes me a little bit nervous because I think he's a great coach. He obviously, did a great job in helping, Devin Booker, who was already, kind of starting to develop, but expedite that and turn him into arguably the best two guard in the league and take a roster that wasn't very good at the time and basically turn them into contenders with a few, adjustments to their roster. So happy for Detroit. Good, talented, young team. I still like our roster a little bit more, although maybe I am a bit biased. But Monty Williams, I think, is a great hire, but that is like a ton of money for a head coach.
Yeah, I agree. But like I said, they're desperate, man. Haven't been over 500 since 2015. Looking to get something done. Got to get something going, and that's their guy. I mean, I'd be ecstatic about a Monty Williams hire for sure. So I get it. Detroit has to be feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, in 2021 when we hired Jamal, if Monty Williams had been available and we had hired Monty Williams, I would have been doing backflips. I would have been ecstatic. As Denver now has a 9-point lead with 8 minutes and 18 seconds to go in the second quarter. Suck it, Miami, you losers. One more thing here.
As well.
The Team USA for the FIBA World Cup, some of the rosters have been announced. So Mikal Bridges, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, Bobby Portis, and Austin Reeves have been named to the roster so far. Obviously, there's going to be more additions to that over the next few weeks here. But I'm starting to, get kind of excited to watch our boys, Franz and Mo Wagner, playing for Germany. I know there were a few other guys like Isaiah Hartenstein was talking about potentially playing for, Germany in this year's FIBA World Cup. So hopefully, our guys show out, and we're still kind of waiting on the word with Paolo. I know Team USA has been pursuing him. Italy has been pursuing him. Where do you fall? Like, where would you like to see Paolo play in the FIBA World Cup, or do you not want him to play in the FIBA World Cup?
I would love to see him on Italy.
I would love to see him on Italy. It is would be so much more interesting than seeing him as just a wheel in the cog of Team USA.
Yeah, well, listen, you ask, I'm sure if Mavericks fans, if you went to them and you're like, hey, would you rather Luka play Slovenia, or would you like him to play for Team USA if he could, right? Like if it was a realistic possibility. And 10 times out of 10, they'd say, I'll take the one where he is, like you said, not just part of it, of a really great team, but has the ability and opportunity to do something awesome and be the reason that the team advances as far as they do, because Luka Doncic did just that. Now, does Paolo Banchero do that for Italy? Probably not. But
not
eventually,
this year.
right? Right. That's what I'm saying. So you give him year after year, opportunities to play with FIBA and Olympics, all that kind of stuff. Eventually, it'll come, and it'll help put the Magic even more on the map, which is what we're all about. But it would be awesome to see Paolo be the lead guy for Italy.
And reports right now is that it's looking unlikely that Paolo is going to play for the Italian national team. Would love to see that. Looking here, it says, we are currently on standby, and if I'm being honest, I feel more pessimistic than optimistic. Banchero has been overwhelmed by events in recent months. The Italian Basketball Federation president Gianni Petrucci said, if he won't be with us for the World Cup, we now hope for the Paris Olympics. So it really doesn't seem likely, but with that statement, I guess it's probably unlikely that he even plays for Team USA. I don't know that I hate that. Like, it would be cool. At least, like, he'll be named to the USA select team. Like, if anything, right? And to like that experience, I think is also invaluable. I think if I remember correctly, like Tobias Harris, Jonathan Isaac, I believe Aaron Gordon, they all played, for the USA select team, and they said it was an incredible experience kind of going up against that caliber of players day in and day out. So if nothing else, I would like to see something like that where he has some kind of involvement. But yeah,
is it
weird to you
that I'm pretty positive I heard correctly on a podcast recently, Paolo talk about he had never been to Italy. Like he's got ties, like bloodline ties, but he's never been. I wonder if there's any, I don't know, if the hesitancy on his side comes from like, I've not really even experienced it very like at all, going there and all that.
Yeah, I don't know, because I've watched other interviews when he was in high school, and he seemed like pretty intent on playing for Italy. Like he thought that would be a great opportunity for him to like globalize his branding by playing for the Italian national team. So maybe there's an element of that. I really don't know. I just hope at some point we see it, because like seeing him get 25 shots a game and averaging like 30 to 35 points per game in like the FIBA World Cup group stage would be incredible. It would just be so much fun to see him like destroying other countries. And like if there's a Team USA versus Italy and Paolo Banchero is just like going at these dudes and like an all-star team essentially, and gives them like 35, are you kidding me? You have any idea how your boy be sweating?
And listen, I'm going back to if Paolo, him not being to Italy, that sort of thing, has played a part. I've got it on good authority he's going to be in Italy this summer. So there's no excuses after this summer. There's no excuses. He's gonna after that.
Breaking news: Luke Sylvia. Okay,
it's just vacation
discuss this before the pod. You weren't like, hey, I'm just gonna drop some sauce.
I wasn't planning to.
Okay,
but I genuinely have had that in the back of my mind about, is it weird about the whole him never being there, at least from what I remember hearing on a podcast. But knowing recently, he's going to be there. So that's all.
All right, where else is he going to be? Huh? No, I'm just kidding. We don't have to give his whole summer itinerary. We don't have to do all that. Okay. Let's shout out the folks that help make every episode possible. Our wonderful, awesome patrons who we love so much. If you're interested in joining the Patreon, you can find us at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. Again, we literally could not do what we do every week or twice a week without the support of our patrons. So we have rookie, all-star, Hall of Fame, elite tier. We have all these tiers, different types of benefits where you could have access to our Discord channel. We give away free t-shirts every month. If you're part of our elite tier, you also get discounts to regular season Orlando Magic home games. So if any of that interests you, again, you can find us at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. And every episode, whenever we have them, we shout out our brand new patrons. And then we also shout out our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons on every episode, which I will do now, starting with the Court Cousins, Drew Gooden, Armin, Carson Tulo, Normal, Magic Player History, Gabe Gaines, Wiffle, Michael Martin, Jamel Miller, Michael Salapon, The Distract, Donkey Punch Dave, Paolo and Franz's Warmth, Pierre A, Nostalgia and M&M's, Dylan Holden, Mr. Mikey, Eduardo Sanchez Drum, Danimal, Dodo 15, Bobby Skinner, Goody 93, Teddy Sylvia, Eric Lopez, Fuchsia, Juan Gerardo, Bill Fulton, Edmund Logone, Hosea Squealing, Destined for Greatness, Caleb Pete, Cannibalism, Time Mr. TV, Joe Rothfuss, ESPN Really Sucks, Gear 95 Shred, Junior Bruce, Half Rican, Shahan 177, Bobby the Dawn, Himlo Ban Himro, RM Prof 221, Ray Pastrana, Magic Kid 714, Spank Too Hard, Soft Taco, Jesse, Johnny B, Fuego Nando, Victor Cologne, Phantom 72, Irish Magic Mike, Austin Lampy, Random Hustle, Only Franz, Maria, Keith Wallace, and Fritz. A big thank you to all of our patrons. Again, find us at patreon.com/the Six Man Show. All right, this is second episode in a row where we're giving Fazan some love, giving our writer Fazan Amer a nice little shout out. This past week, what day was that? That was this past Wednesday. Fazan had the great idea, I think he took it from someone else and he did give them credit, but he tweeted out, hey, you're the general manager of the Orlando Magic. How do you continue to build around the core of Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner through the draft? So he started posing a thread of all of these polls on different choices or different decisions, I guess, that the Magic front office has to make. I think there were 11 total. Each of these had, close to 400. Some of them are over 400 votes. So it's a really healthy sample size from the Orlando Magic community. The first one actually has almost 1,000 votes. So everybody that is involved in Orlando Magic Twitter essentially voted on this. So Luke and I thought that it would be fun for us to go through this and kind of play, my GM, if you will, and kind of go through each one of these polls that Fazan did. And then at the end, we'll kind of go over the results of the community, more or less. Right, Luke?
For sure.
All right. So let's start with this first one. How do you continue to build around the core of Paolo and Franz through the draft? We'll go A, add the 2023 first-round picks and veteran leaders. B, sign a big-name free agent. C, add veteran depth. Or D, trade key guys for a star. Luke, what did you vote and how would you handle this one?
Yeah, I don't think it comes as a surprise, but it would be adding a singular first-round pick, that first option, and then vet leaders. And I think that's really all there is to it for me. I sign a big-name free agent. There's nobody in free agency that is even realistic, in my opinion, to get that I would be super interested in getting. So as far as like a star, big name free agent goes. So I think for me, it'd have to be the first one.
Yeah, same here. I'm good with both first round picks, getting rid of a couple of guys that are on the roster. If you release a guy like Chuma and you don't bring back Michael Carter Williams or maybe Goga and Admiral Schofield, that's going to open up a few spots to go out and sign some veteran leaders, some locker room guys. The other part to this is like just add veteran depth, which would basically be trade the first round picks for some type of veteran and then sign other veterans. So the way that this came out is add 2023 first round pick and vet leaders. That got the most votes with 47.1, followed by add veteran depth, which got 25.6, followed by sign a big name free agent, which was 19%, and then trade key guys for a star, which came 8.3%. sign a big name free agent or trade key guys for a star. I just don't feel like we're at that point in the timeline where that makes a ton of sense currently. The next one, welcome to the 2023 NBA Draft. You're on the clock with pick number 6. Choose your path. And he mocks the draft. 1, going Victor. 2, Brandon Miller. 3, Scoot Henderson. 4, Amen Thompson. 5, Cam Whitmore. Then you have the choices to trade number 6 and veterans for a star, trade number 6 to move down, select Taylor Hendricks, or select Ausar Thompson. And Luke, where are you going here?
I'm selecting Ausar Thompson. I think that it's hard to avoid. He's, you look at Taylor Hendricks, and yes, he fits the mold of shooter that we've been wanting. But Thompson has way too many tools, and he doesn't even have a shot. But I think he would still be very effective in this league. So for me, there's a reason that he really was mocked top 5 for a very long time, and just recently has, I feel like, been kind of in that 6 conversation. If he's there, I got to go Thompson.
So I've been on the record of saying I'm fine with Ausar Thompson being the pick at 6. I get if you're like, hey, it's just way too much athleticism, way too much upside to pass up at 6. Completely get this. And this one, I believe, was one of the closer polls. So I'll just kind of spoil it right here. Select Ausar Thompson was number 1 at 39.5, followed by select Taylor Hendricks with 34.1. And that's kind of where I'm at. Like, select Taylor Hendricks, I think, just fills a need that you need more forward and big depth. Taylor Hendricks gives you both of those. I love his, defensive versatility. I love the fact that he's, a shot creator. He's alluded to the fact that he feels like he can maybe create a little bit more than what he was shown to do at UCF. One of his highlights is like blowing past Jarris Walker, like off the dribble. Just one play, like literally the smallest sample size of all time. But if you're trying to talk yourself into maybe someday he can be a little bit more than like a 3D lob threat kind of guy, and maybe might be able to put the ball on the floor a little bit, I'm fine with Taylor Hendricks being the pick at 6, even if Ausar Thompson is still there. But again, I wouldn't be upset if Ausar Thompson is the pick at 6 either. So it was those 2 options, and then trade number 6 and vets for a star. Trading number 6 and veterans for a star, I just don't think that that's incredibly likely. But that was third with 18.8% of the vote. And then last was trade number 6 to move down, and that was 7.6% of the vote. I don't know that I would really hate that. It depends on what you're getting in that deal, how far you're moving back, and then who you're taking. Like, if you're able to add a nice player and move back to like 8 and you get Grady Dick, I'm really not that upset if there's that kind of move. I find this being a really hard draft to talk about and predict because like there are so many ways that this night could go, none of which would be incredibly surprising to anyone.
No, I think that this poll was good for my mental health, because what I mean by that, there's a lot of Magic fans that concern me sometimes.
Sorry, I had water in my mouth. I didn't want to spit it all over my keyboard.
But
that's a nice way to put it. That's a good way to put it.
They concern me sometimes. So this gives us a pulse on the reality, if Magic fans are living in reality or if they're living in Fantasyland. Because if you guys were living in Fantasyland, your answer to this would be trade 6 and vets for a star. And I just mean by that, like, I just don't know, trading 6 and any veterans on this team.
I'll have you know, on Magic Facebook, that option gets 87% of the vote.
Has to. Magic fans on Facebook.
If you're on Magic
you're listening
Facebook,
to this and you're like,
do yourself a favor, just get out of there. It's a wasteland.
But yeah, so and what I mean is just adding a star. It's not going to happen. Trading 6 and vets, if we're being honest. But I also don't know that the team even needs it. Like, at this point in time, check back with me in a couple seasons. We'll see where the roster's at, even maybe next offseason. And we have a bigger sample size on our key guys and Paolo and Franz mainly. But yeah, it's just nice to see that selecting Hendricks or Thompson is really the number one options by a landslide in that poll.
The next one. A few picks later, you're now back on the clock at 11. Choose your path. 7, for reasons of the previous poll, he said Taylor Hendricks and Ausar Thompson are kind of off the board. You can't get either one of those guys at 11. For this, it makes sense, but that's not really how it would happen, as we all know. He's mocking 8 is Keontae George, who is gaining some lottery attention. 9, Grady Dick. 10, Jarris Walker. Then the options are trade 11 to move down, select Cason Wallace, select Jordan Hawkins, or select Derek Lively. Luke, where do you fall?
On this one, I'm going Jordan Hawkins because in my path, I choose Ausar Thompson, who is not a shooter. So if we want me to, fill that need, because I want me to fill that need, I'm going Jordan Hawkins.
Yeah, this was one of the easiest ones to me. Derek Lively, I took Taylor Hendricks at 6, so the need for Derek Lively isn't as large. And even though I got a shooter in Taylor Hendricks, I want to add more shooting. And Jordan Hawkins is arguably the best shooter in the entire draft. So, yeah, select Jordan Hawkins. That was by far and away. This was, I think, one of the biggest favorites in all of the polls. Select Jordan Hawkins led with 54.2% of the vote, 426 votes. I haven't been keeping up with the number of votes here, but this one got 426 votes. Very close, number 2. Trade 11 to move down was second at 17.6. Select Derek Lively was third at 17.1. And then last, select Cason Wallace with 11% of the vote. To me, anytime I see Cason Wallace or Anthony Black mocked to the Magic in this draft, I'm like, what team are you watching? It doesn't. Yeah, I throw up a lot, actually, not just a little.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a reason that it's the lowest result on this poll, being Cason Wallace. No, you gotta go Jordan Hawkins. And honestly, if I'm going Jordan Hawkins, if I'm not going, like if he's not an option there, and the poll says Cason Wallace, trade 11 to move down, or select Derek Lively, I'm going to go Derek Lively for the fact that he can be a backup big on this team. I really think that, and just looking at his film and everything that he offers, Derek Lively would be a viable answer. But everybody's so hungry for shooting, it's not surprising Jordan Hawkins gets the pick. I don't know, I get it, but I don't know that it warrants a 54% to 17% to Derek Lively. People just aren't really thinking about the fact that the Magic need a backup big. And Derek Lively, I think, could be that.
The next one here, we have entered the second round, and the Orlando Magic are set to make their final selection of the night at pick 36. The options are trade 36 for 2 future second-round picks, select Julian Strawther, select Seth Lundy, or select Marcus Sasser. Luke, where are you? I think this is probably a quick one.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know who Seth Lundy and Marcus Sasser are. I'm going to say it.
Facts, though.
I'm trading 36 for 2 future second round picks. We talked about it on Mavs draft recently with Richard Stayman. He talks about just the quality of the upcoming drafts, a lot stronger than this one, in his opinion. And it's really consensus right now from what I've seen. The other option is, let's say at this point, if I didn't take Jordan Hawkins, I took Lively and Thompson, which in reality, I wouldn't select 2 guys, in my opinion, but I'd take 1. But in this, I took 2, right? I could see if you took Thompson and like Lively taking Julian Strawther. Give you guys a glimpse of the numbers really quickly. Strawther, over 5 attempts from 3 with Gonzaga. The season shot 41%. So he can shoot. I don't know what else he could do, but he can shoot. And he's 6'7", and he's able to play the guard position as well. Wouldn't be terrible. So, but all things considered, like you said, pretty quick one, trading that pick for 2 future seconds.
Yeah, I think there's still a really good discussion to have, as we have every episode now, about whether or not the Magic are going to use both of their first round picks. Like, I'm probably like 60-40 at like 60% they will, 40% they won't. Like, I won't be surprised either way they go. to me, there is a 0% chance the Magic draft 3 rookies in this draft. I just don't see that happening at all.
We talked about things that make us throw up. That makes me throw up.
Yeah.
Thinking about drafting 3 people.
There's just no way. So, yeah, trade 36 for 2 future second-round picks was the lead vote getter with 58.7%. Second was select Marcus Sasser with 20.4%. Third, select Julian Strawther with 14.9%. And then last, select Seth Lundy with 6%. And I lied earlier when I said selecting Jordan Hawkins was one of the biggest favorites, because this next one crushes it. Congratulations to the 2023 NBA draft. It is now concluded. Now you have some key roster moves to make prior to entering NBA free agency. First on the chopping block of moves to make is point guard Markelle Fultz. The options are extend Markelle Fultz, sign and trade, pick up the $17 million option, or decline the $17 million option. Luke, what would you do?
We're extending that man. Extend that man. This isn't a shocker, nor something that requires a lot of thought.
Especially if you can make it work and get him on a good deal. Again, we've talked about this a couple episodes ago. Just given the injury history, and the last 3 years, that he's played underneath his current extension, missed most of that. So I think that's going to help you in negotiations with Markelle Fultz. I just think you got to lock him down. Whether or not you think he's the point guard of the future, there is such a thing as just good asset management, and you cannot let an asset like Markelle Fultz walk. If you have to overpay him and then maybe you have to add a sweetener to a deal later on to trade him, if you're looking to upgrade that position or you found your upgrade already, then so be it. You cannot let Markelle Fultz get to free agency. I'm not interested in it whatsoever unless it's just absolutely unreasonable. And Markelle seems to be a pretty reasonable guy to me. I'd be kind of really surprised if that was the case. So I'm going to extend Markelle Fultz, and basically everybody agreed. 72.7% of the vote went to extend Markelle Fultz. Most of the other votes, 22.2%, went to pick up the $17 million option. 3.2% said sign and trade, and 1.8% said decline. Those 1.8%, what the hell are you guys doing? That's 433 votes in total there. Next up, Cole Anthony is under contract for 1 more season before becoming a restricted free agent. He is currently extension eligible. How do you proceed? Extend Cole Anthony or make him a restricted free agent in 2024?
We're also extending him. We're extending him, and essentially, right, this is a pretty, I don't know that it's split, but it's, some of these polls weren't close, as we shared with Markelle Fultz. This one, somewhat, right? It was almost 60-40, essentially, in favor of extending Cole. And essentially the argument that I've seen is Cole, it's not about what we want, maybe. Cole might just say, no, I want to have my trial run. I want to have my last season to see this next season, to see kind of what I can do, what my market's like. I can test it, see what people are willing to pay. And then you guys can see how much you value me and match it, right? So I see definitely the risk you run. If Cole's interested in extending, you got to do it.
Extend Cole Anthony or make him a restricted free agent in 2024. Like you said, pretty split, 57.9 to 42.1%, 418 votes. I'm kind of surprised that it was this close. Like, as much as people love Cole Anthony, I was kind of surprised that it was. I thought this was going to be like 70+%. And I am in the camp of extending Markelle Fultz. People want to talk about, if you're paying him $17, $18 million a year, that's starter money. Right now it is, yes. But the cap is going to be increasing by 10% over the next several years. And 2 years from now, Cole Anthony, if he continues producing the way that he did the second half of the season, it's not going to be the equivalent of the Wendell Carter Jr. deal, because that's already one of the best contracts in the NBA. It's going to, maybe it won't live on the same street as that, but it's going to be in the same neighborhood, I think, as wow, like that's actually a really good deal that the Magic have Cole Anthony on. And I have some numbers that I want to give people because we've been talking about this for what feels like the last 2 to 3 months when Cole Anthony was really playing well towards the end of the season. If you're going to make the decision to extend him, it's because you believe into the production that he gave you the second half of the season. And I just want to put that production in a little bit of context. The last 40 games, Cole Anthony averaged 13.3 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3.6 assists. So I went to NBA.com and I looked at that date range starting with January 5th running to April 10th. I looked at players that average greater than or equal to 13 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists per game. When you go through this list, there are really, and I'm talking about like good sample size. Like we have Raekwon Gray, who in one game scored 16 points, had 9 rebounds, and 7 assists. So I had one really good game. He's not included in this. The rest of this list that you look at, almost every single guy plays 30 plus minutes, meaning they are a starter. The 2 guys that are the kind of exception to that rule are Zach Collins, who in 36 games, the Spurs were 9-27, and then Cole Anthony, the Magic were 19-21 in the 40 games that he did that. Going through the rest of this list, obviously, we're getting into better players. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but we're looking at Alperen Şengün, Aaron Gordon, Scotty Barnes, Jalen Williams, Russell Westbrook, Josh Giddey, Evan Mobley, Nikola Vucevic. I'm thinking of Nikola Jokic, Kevin Porter Jr., Paolo Banchero, Bam Adebayo, Domantas Sabonis, Drew Holiday, James Harden, DeJounte Murray, Anthony Towns, so on and so forth. The list just goes on and on and on. Cole Anthony, at his size, playing his role, 25.6 minutes per game, put up numbers that when you look all across the league the last 40 games, basically only starters were putting up. Last 40 games of the year, Cole Anthony was a starter quality player coming off of the bench for the Magic and was really, really good. If he's going to continue to give you that level of production off the bench, I'm good with paying him basically starter money right now. And yeah, I don't know how you feel about that, given the evidence that I've just offered you. But I'm good with extending Cole Anthony this year if the front office, who knows better than me, if they believe that he's going to be able to sustain that kind of production in the same role.
Yeah, for sure. I'm definitely going to be extending Cole in this situation.
Yeah. Next one. The Orlando Magic are the 3rd youngest team in the NBA, followed by the Oklahoma City Thunder and Detroit Pistons. Do you want to retain the 3-and-D veteran presence of Gary Harris, or is he a roadblock in the development process? Would you pick up his $13 million option or decline his $13 million option?
You guys know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm doing. I don't even got to say it. We're picking it up.
We're picking
it up really fast, and you guys deserve a talking to who hit the decline his option button.
Do you remember the film, the cinematic masterpiece that was Legally Blonde?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Yes. Do you remember the scene in the salon where they're teaching everyone the bend and snap?
Yeah.
That's how quick I'm picking up Gary Harris's $13 million option. I'm hitting that. Yeah. I'm hitting the bend and snap. Like when she breaks the UPS guy's nose and they fall in love, I am picking up his option that quickly.
And you and Gary Harris are falling in love?
I don't know about all of that. He's a happily married man, I believe. I'm a happily married man.
We already have.
You and Gary might have fallen in love. I don't know about that. But yeah, 58.3%, in my opinion, 412 votes. That is not high enough. Like this should be like 70%. Pick up his $13 million option. I don't understand the folks that want to decline the $13 million option for a team that absolutely needs a veteran presence and shooting. And that's an asset. An expiring Gary Harris on a $13 million deal that you're going to be able to trade to a team that's in cap trouble, or a team looking to add a piece at the end of the year, or towards the trade deadline, I should say. Like that's too good of an asset to let go. The next one, we can talk about this. Really made me upset. Isaac's salary was initially fully guaranteed at $17.4 million per season through 2024-2025. Because Isaac didn't meet games played thresholds specified in his deal, his final 3 seasons now have varying guaranteed amounts. Is it time to throw in the towel? This year, would you guarantee J.I. $17 million, or would you release Jonathan Isaac and essentially saving yourself $10 million this year, Luke?
I'm guaranteeing in this situation. I know you say it made you upset, but I get it. I really get it. I can't say that I don't. I understand. Because you guys voted wow. I was very surprised, but I don't know why I was. But I was surprised.
Well, I would have been less surprised if this vote would have been in the last couple of days with like Jonathan Isaac's, recent announcement about launching like the apparel brand and everything like that, and people are upset about that. That kind of sour taste in your mouth, and you go and you vote this way. Like people speak in the voting booth. Like, they say that around like election time. You're upset about something, like you take it out in the voting booth. If this would have been the case, then I understand it. This here, like strictly, we've talked about this from like a risk reward standpoint. This isn't even like my personal feelings about Jonathan Isaac and like still hoping that he can get healthy. If he can get healthy, if big if turns into a much more valuable trade piece, one exponentially increases the ceiling of this team and how good this team can be, raises the floor even. To save $10 million this year, where you're really not going to be big players in free agency, just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. The risk to reward just still far outweighs what you would be gaining by releasing Jonathan Isaac at this point. Whether or not it's likely that he's going to get healthy, who the frickin' heck knows? But I think it would just be irresponsible to say, hey, we're just going to cut ties with this guy at this point.
Yeah,
it was people voted 55% to release him to 44.9% to guarantee.
Yeah, and if the injury at the end of the season doesn't happen, then this is
of course, but how you can't ignore that. I get
that. You can't, but at the same time, people are acting like it's an injury that was going to be a season-long rehab process. Just because he was out the remainder of the season, that might have felt that way to some people. But I truly do think that it plays a part. There's people being like, oh, well, he wasn't there. To me, like in my mind, whether you realize it or not, I feel like people are just treating it as it was a season ending, yes, but that it was a 12-month rehab process or whatever it was, right? Just not the case. So, yeah, I don't know.
If what we were told was true and nothing changed between now and the exit interviews, Jonathan Isaac should be back to 100% today, June 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And we have almost 4 months until...
Way too long.
Yeah, we have 4 months. Like, media day is October 2nd. The start of training camp is going to be October 3rd. So we have 4 months between now and the start of the season for Jonathan Isaac to get back into shape and everything like that. Like, there shouldn't be any excuse why he's not ready for opening night, training camp, all of that kind of stuff. But again, the people that are like, hey, no, like, I really just don't think he can stay healthy. I get that, but let's call it a 1% chance. I still believe that the 1% chance is more valuable than saving $10 million this year. Unless all of a sudden somebody comes out and says, hey, I'm one of those guys that makes $30 million a year and I really want to play for the Orlando Magic. If that's the case, then yeah. Well, one, you wouldn't release him. You would include him in the trade to make those salaries work. Like, you see where I'm getting? Like, even if you don't want the guy on the team, having his contract on the team is still more valuable than saving the $10 million that you would get by waiving him. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, fair.
All right, next one. Goga Batadze's success wearing the Orlando uniform may surprise others, but he possessed these flashes of traits in Indiana. Buried behind Miles Turner and Domantas Sabonis, and a wheel of coaches halted his development. What's next for him in Orlando? The options are pick up his $2 million option or decline the club option. Luke.
I'm declining. I'm declining the option. This is where I'm trying to really connect, right? Like, overwhelmingly, I will spoil. Overwhelmingly, people wanted to pick up Goga's.
I
$2 million
declined it
option.
too. I couldn't believe how the other way it was.
Well,
and I don't hate picking up the option, but like to me, this is, I don't want to call it inconsequential, but it's not like a major move by any means, right?
Yeah, it's not a major move, but at the same time, I don't know. What is he, your fourth option then? Right? Like, if you think that the Magic are going to retain Mo as the third option, pick up a second option player at center behind Dell, I don't know. I don't really, like, I'm declining it. And the reason I'm confused is because, people wanted to release Jonathan Isaac, and they wanted to pick up Goga, and it's like you said, the JI would be involved in a trade for a star, right? So it's not like you're releasing him to get someone, correct? And I would think that that's got to be like, are people just doing it like, if their thought process is, I'm releasing Jonathan Isaac to make room on this roster, to develop talent, add guys, veterans, whatever, but then you're going to pick up Goga, who you can inconsequentially release him.
Spoiler alert, room. That is not why people want to waive Jonathan Isaac.
Well, right, but then it becomes I get that, but then it becomes, a couple years ago or a couple of days ago, you talk about, his video he released about the apparel thing. Like, this happened before that. So I just don't get it. I thought JI might have won people back. Maybe was the issue, is that he won them back and then got injured. So he broke their hearts again. I don't know. But just people aren't really thinking. They're also not thinking about the fact that it really is just essentially $10 million difference this offseason, right? People are just like, oh, pick up or release. Or keep him or release. I'm just going to release him. $17 million. That's way too much. You know what I mean? Nobody was thinking logically on that side. So I don't know, just confusing. But yes, for me, we're declining Goga's club option.
Yeah, if you draft any one of Taylor Hendricks, Jarris Walker, or Derek Lively, like, then Goga is basically immediately like your fourth big. And are you going to keep him at that point? I don't really know. Again, I don't think this is like a super big deal. It's $20 million. I don't feel super strongly about it one way or the other. But like, if we have a chance to go and get like a Mason Plumlee or like a Naz Reid in free agency, if we don't draft a big, then again, like, Goga's then your fourth big. And do you want a fourth big? Because he's kind of like your third and a half because of the time that Wendell could likely miss. I don't hate it, but I was just so, like, to me, this is like a 50-50 thing for me. I was surprised that we were, and not that like, oh, I'm surprised that people disagreed with us because like we're always right and we know everything. Like, no, I just didn't think people felt this strongly about Goga. But yeah, it's not a big deal. But yeah, it was 79% pick up his option to 21% decline, 391 votes. The next one here, we're nearing the end of your tenure as the GM of the Orlando Magic. Just a few more key roster adjustments you need to make before handing the keys back over to Jeff Weltman and John Hammond. Do you pick up Bol Bol's $2 million option, or do you decline the Bol Bol $2 million option?
To me, there's no reason to decline it. And this is coming from someone who is pretty out on Bol Bol.
I feel like earlier in the offseason, you were like, waive him. Like, you didn't care.
Correct.
I'm surprised by this.
I've had some time. I've grown up a little.
You've grown.
I've grown as a man, and as a Magic fan, I've grown. But I'm still pretty much out on Bol Bol, right? But if you look at this, just look at logistically, $2 million for Bol Bol, who Is he worth $2 million? I think so, right? Like as far out as I am on Bol Bol, he and Goga, $2 million.
What number would you
Who
have
are
to
you
get to with Bull to be like, no, I'm declining it?
per season?
No, like the option this year, like if it was this number, like it's anything under this, you're good. But if it hits that number, you're like, no, decline. Because I'm probably like
I'd say
5 million. If it's 4, I'm good. If it was 5, I would probably decline. But 4 million down, like, why not?
yeah, because there's upside there still, right? Like if he can get it together as far as for me, one of the bigger things, there's quite a few, but one of the bigger things is just like IQ wise with Bull. If he is able to in the offseason study, become more familiar with this team, this and that and the third, risk is way lower than the reward, in my opinion, on this. So I think you got to pick up Bull.
Yeah, that's where I am. Like it's $2 million, still a ton of upside there. If he can finally make like the leap and not be lost on almost every single defensive possession and like give you some good minutes there, like Bull can come in and win you ball games. Like the talent is there. So yeah, we're on the same page there. I'm surprised by that. All right, I think this is the last one. Thank you for your time as the Orlando Magic GM. Tell us about your team. If you would have made different picks that I didn't list on the polls, etc., be as specific as you like. This is your team. What's your reasonable expectation of where the team finishes at the end? The options are fight for a play-in spot, strong playoff contender, championship contender, lottery team equals tank, 376 votes. Luke, where are you?
I was torn on this one because obviously you're not going to say lottery team. There must have been some trolls in this because there's 1.3% who clicked, "Ooh, I'm going to hit tank." You're hilarious. 2% championship contender, right? The other two, the two that I was like going between was fight for the play-in spot and strong playoff contender. I was very unsure what that meant, to be honest. And because of that, I went for fight for play-in spot. Because I think 6 to 10 are, very likely, in my opinion. I just don't know what strong playoff contender is, to be honest with you. I don't know where that leaves you.
To me, I broke it down to like he kind of put it fight for play-in spot or strong playoff contender. So to me, strong playoff contender is like 6 and up. Everything else I just kind of threw into the play-in. I do believe the Magic are good enough to be like the 6th seed next year. I think they are talented enough. I think they have what it takes to get there. That being said, what I did when I looked at this is like, let me look at the standings again. And where I'm looking at where the Magic are to get to 6, you have to jump Washington, Indiana, Toronto, Chicago, Miami, Atlanta. So you have to basically jump 6 teams. Actually, no, 7 teams because you have to jump Brooklyn as well. You got to jump 7 teams to jump into the top 6 and be a strong playoff contender. Can the Magic do that? I really believe they can. But just like historically speaking, do we see that much improvement from a team with other teams also simultaneously getting worse? I don't think it happens that often. Each year, there's 1 to 2 teams that maybe underperform in the regular season. Like this year, for me, it was the Hawks and the Heat. Both of those teams like really underperformed where I thought they would be in the regular season, especially like with DeJounte Murray and then the Miami Heat. We were seeing them play in the NBA Finals. They were one Jimmy Butler 3 away from the NBA Finals last year. So those teams really underperformed. We're going to see that. Like it's most likely going to be the Brooklyn Nets just because of the drop off in talent that they've had. But like do the Hawks drop more? Do the Bulls drop more? Do the Raptors drop more? I could totally see that. If James Harden leaves Houston, Philadelphia is going to drop a little bit, maybe not out of the playoffs and into the play-in, but I didn't think the Heat were going to be in the play-in this year either. Does Joel Embiid miss 30 games next year and then can Philadelphia fall into the play-in? Like to me, that's totally in the realm of possibilities. Does Jaylen Brown want out of Boston, or does Boston decide, hey, we're going to trade Jaylen Brown? And do they go in another year with Joe Mazzulla? It seems like they are. And if you trade away Jaylen Brown, do the Celtics drop down? Like, I think that's possible as well. Again, are they going to drop all the way down? I don't think so. But that's just kind of everything that went into my thinking. And I said, fight for a play-in spot. I think, but the Magic should be shooting for 7 or 8. 9 or 10 to me will be a little bit of a letdown, even though I will be excited to be in the postseason again. But the Magic should be shooting for 7 or 8 of that play-in. At the very least, the Magic should be hosting one play-in game next year.
Yeah, I agree.
So where this came down to is 376 votes. Number 1 with 51.1 was strong playoff contender. Number 2 with 44.7% of the vote, fight for a play-in spot, followed by championship contender, which was 2.9, and then lottery team, 1.3. If I had to guess whether the Magic were going to be a championship contender next year or tank, I'd probably be closer to tank. So I think it's interesting that got more than double the amounts of votes that a lottery team did. But, it kind of is what it is.
Optimist versus pessimist. That's all that was.
Yeah, it definitely was. I'm usually the optimist, but this was a lot of fun. Fazan credited our real Tom Petrini, who covers the San Antonio Spurs for this idea. So I had a lot of fun with this. Thanks for bringing this to light, Fazan, and I think really the whole community got some fun out of this, Luke.
Yeah.
All right. Before we sign off here, again, don't forget June 22nd, Thursday. Doors open at 6:30. The Orlando Magic draft party at Amway. You can get your tickets at orlandomagic.com. They are free, but you do have to reserve them to be able to get into the door that night. It's going to be a lot of fun. Luke, what's going on with the it's tie game with 9 minutes, 9 seconds left in the third in game 2 of the finals. Let's go Nuggets, am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go Nuggets.
All right, that's going to do it for this one. For Luke Sylvia, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to The Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya. Thanks for listening to The Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!